continuing with where we left off, because there's new people here. We're going to have to just recap a little what we're doing here. Rabbi Nachman gave 2 lessons on the concept of the Tikkun HaKlali. Everyone here has heard about the Tikkun HaKlali. He revealed the Tikkun HaKlali to rectify what's called Pagam Brit. He said specifically for what was called the Shogeg, a Mikra Laila, Tikkun and Mikra Laila, which means unintentional. However, from the Lashon that he talks and how he brings proofs, plus the commentaries from the Breslovers, it's understood that this can be also a Tikkun for even, God forbid, intentional Pagam Brit, but with conditions that a person has major charata and tshuva and everything. We went into this in previous classes. So, Reish Hey, Rabbi Nachman, he explains the idea why 10 chapters of Tehillim is the Tikkun. That's number 1. In this lesson here, 92, which we're doing Tzadik Bet Inyana, Rabbi Nachman goes to show, number 1, the proofs of where he learns out that each type of song, that I didn't explain. This is the Gemara, the Zohar, the Midrash, Rashi, they all bring down different versions of the same idea. That what? That David HaMelech, along with other 9 tzaddikim, some say 10 tzaddikim, who composed the Sefer Tehillim, they wrote the book using 10 types of nigun. The famous address is Psachim, Daf Kuf Yud Zayin, that the book of Tehillim was composed with 10 types of nigun. Of the names and the order of them, that's the difference between the Zohar, the Midrash, the Gemara, the Yerushalmi. Rabbi Nachman takes the kivun of the Yerushalmi on the name of the 10 types of nigunim. Okay? So Rabbi Nachman's chidush is that there are actual 10 chapters which correspond to the 10 types of nigunim, and he proves in lesson Reishei that this can be machniya pagam brit. 10 chapters, 10 activating the 10 types of nigun which are encompassed in Tehillim. Originally he said any 10 kapitlech. Originally, when he revealed the Tikkun HaKlali in 1805, he said any 10 kapitlech can do it, can do a job of tikkun. Afterwards, he revealed which specific 10 they are. Right before, a year before he passed away, he revealed the seder that's known in the Tikkun HaKlali, chapter 16, chapter 32, chapter 41, 42, okay? So, in this lesson 92, number 1, the first part you can see in the first paragraph is that he goes into showing the actual proofs to each type of nigun, how it's machniya. He says, for example, you see there's bracha, we went into this in previous classes. Ashrei is nesui pesha. The nigun of Ashrei lifts up the sin. Maskil, he says, from Hashem is Isha Maskalit. Shir, Balayla. The Zohar says the reason why Laila is called Laila is amazing. Why is Laila called Laila? On the name of the Klippa, we don't say her name. Lamed Yud Tav. She is the evil force. She is the wife of Samech Mem. Uncle Sam? Uncle Sam. Samech Mem. We don't say his name either. Samech Mem Aleph Lamed. He has a Bat Zug. Her job in this world, Hashem Rachem, is she heats men up, God forbid. The standard situation is while sleeping, a Mikra Laila. She comes using the subconscious dreams of a man and attacks him to heat him up, and then she takes, when he has an emission, chas v'shalom, she takes the sparks of that and brings it to the other side. That's the nourishment of all the tuma comes from the life source of the nitzotzot, of the sparks of the seed wasted. Okay? So night, it's called Mikra Laila, because normally the time a man sleeps is at night time. The time she has shlita and the world is dini is the beginning of the night, Laila. So Rabbi Nachman brings proofs, for example, Shir, Balai, which we're going to go into today. We're going to the chapter that corresponds to Shir. Rabbi Nachman's proof for Shir, which is found in the Tikkun HaKlali, chapter 42, Balayla, Shiro, Imi. So Rabbi Nachman's taich is like this. Balayla, when God forbid a person is trapped in Laila, because he fell into Pagam Brit. So he's in Laila, he's under the domain, the jurisdiction, the rulership of this klipa called Lamed Yud Tav. Even though I'm in Laila, Chas Shalom, Shiro, Hashem's Shir, the power of Shir, is with me. Rabbi Nachman sees this as a proof that Shir can subdue the klipa. It's one of the 10 types of song, and in this format of this verse, Balayla, Shiro, Inu. We're going to this, Vizat Hashem. The question asked by all the Mefarshim, look how Shiro is written. It's written with a hey. It's written like in the feminine tense. Shiro should be Shin, Yud, Resh, Vav. Shiro. Ubalayla, his song, Hashem is saying this, by the way. This verse, the Gemara learns out. I think it's Resh Lakish. Resh Lakish. Anyone shows Osek Batorah Balayla, anyone learns Torah at night. Moshchin alav chut shel chesed bayom. It's a famous Gemara. Anyone who learns Torah at night, which is meant to be understood, someone gets up at midnight and learns Torah, is osek b'Torah at nighttime. So such a person, during the day, he has a chut shel chesed. There's many mefarshim.
What if you do before Chatzos?
It's also counting, but it's ideally from Chatzot Laila. Why ideally Chatzot Laila? Because she, Lamed Yud Tav, she's subdued at midnight. Every midnight, there's a subduing. Her Shlita is from the beginning of the night to the end to the midnight. That's when she rules. There's Lail, the Zohar goes into this. There's Leil Shimurim, for example, Leil Pesach, and there's Laila. So they go into the Zohar, which part is Laila. One half is called Laila, the half is called Leil. Where there's Dinim, that's Laila, I think. That's Laila, Laila is the time of the Dinim. And Leil Shimurim is from, like, it's the whole night, but from midnight, it's protected, right? Leil. I don't remember exact the details, but the Zohar goes into that. There's Leil and Laila, the two parts of the night. One shows as a mitigation, one shows that there's still dinim. You have to be careful, okay? But ideally, the Gemara there is talking about getting up at midnight. That's the pshat of the Gemara, how the Mefarshim explain it, is someone gets up at midnight to learn Torah, and he deserves the title, because he was sleeping, and he woke up, he broke his sleep, okay? The Zohar says, Shira, comes from the root of a bull, shor. The reason why shir is called shir, because it's an expression of song where a person is making a matzav. Is macha matzav in Yiddish. What does that mean? There's nothing here, and I have to build a situation. It's not like there's an inspiration, and I'm just getting a free trip on the inspiration. I'm in total darkness right now, and I have to make the situation to exist. That's shir. Shir is when, I'm out of it. I don't know if I'm going to do this. Oh my God. And the person says, okay, I kill myself, and he does it. That's shir. The idea of shir is song when a person kills himself in darkness to make a light. There's nothing to build on. Like, for example, hoda'ah, giving thanks. It's built on something. A miracle happened, an unbelievable breakthrough. All that's left for me to do is thank you Hashem, thank you Hashem. You're saying thank you because there's already an initial push to give thanks. Ashreinu. Something happened that now, oh wow, Ashreinu, okay? Every type of song has a different format. Shir is when there's nothing. Darkness, you have to make the initiative. You have to make the first move. That's why the Gemara is saying. Anyone who gets up, is osek b'Torah at the middle of the night, moshchin alav chut shel chesed bayom. On that there's many mefarshim, many commentaries. He has chen, also because he lost out on his sleep, so he's like heavy. Still, he has chen. People love him. People are appreciative of him.
I have it even 7 in the morning. I don't have to get up midnight. Even 7 in the morning, I have the same thing.
Yeah. There was a story of a Malamed here, famous. You okay with the holding up? You okay? There was a Malamed in Yerushalayim. His name was Rav Yankel Kalmanovitz. Many people remember him from the 60s, 70s. Many children here went through him. He was like I think Talmud Torah, Etz Chaim, a very famous Talmud Torah, and he was a Breslover, and he would get up every night at midnight. And the Menahel of the Talmud Torah said, you can't do this, it's halacha. If now by you getting up, you won't function in teaching the children properly, so you're not allowed to do that. It's halacha and Shulchan Aruch, that if now Malamed can't now take like an extra job or do something additional at nighttime that's going to influence his work during the day, because his work is Kodesh. He has to teach Jewish children, and it's going to ruin their education, so you can't do that. So he says, don't worry, I get up in Chatzot and I daven for these kids. And B'yan Hara, it's something known, I'm not inventing this, that all the thousands of kids that went through this Malamed, till today, they have all Yirat Shamayim. Yet he was, okay, and he had the biggest Siyata Dishmai of all the kids that they had a chen with him. So that's an example. Moshchen alav chut shel chesed. There's many interpretations also of Parnasa. Okay, fine. So this is how the verse reads like this: Yomam yitzaveh Hashem chasdo. Hashem will command His chesed on the day, which the Gemara says a chut shel chesed, a string of chesed, of kindness is drawn upon this person. Why? With who? Ubalayla shir Yomam yitzaveh. Hashem is saying the pasuk. When does Hashem say Yomam Mitzvah Hashem Chazdo? Ubalayla Shiro Imi. Hashem said, because Hashem says, because at nighttime his singing of this man at Torah, his singing of the Torah, was with me when the angels are singing together, because the angels get up at midnight also and do the Shira, right? There's the Ashmorot. We do the Ashmorot Masachet Brachot from the Malachim, that they have Ashmorot of singing in Shemayim, okay? So Hashem is saying his singing was together with me while the singing of the angels coming. right? So he was
That's
Zocheh to
why
that.
it says Shira, not Shira.
So now Shira and Shira is a big question. We're going to that tonight. Tonight. We started Wednesday night Shir. It's today. So we're going to why is it written Shira with a Hey and not Shira? You have an answer?
No,
We're going to go into it. Now we're going to go into it.
Is
Is it the Shem? No, we're going to go into it now.
I gotta go because.
Okay, no problem. So now,
but you'll phone me on.
okay, now we're going to skip. We're going now to the second paragraph, okay? See, Veda, כי אלו הם העשרה קפיטל שצריכים לאומם באותו היום שאירע לו מיקרו דקליטה וחס השלום, okay? You should know, Rabbi Nachman saying, these are the 10 specific kapitlach of Tehillim that a person has to say the same day that he has, God forbid. And Rabbi Nachman's Makbi went into this a year ago. Why the same day, right? We went into this, remember back then? That why dafka the same day that a person has an emission which is not pure. That's the lashon of the pasuk. Rabbi Nachman's using the pasuk with the incident of Shaul and David HaMelech and Yonatan when David did not come to eat the Rosh Chodesh Seuda of Shaul HaMelech, and he's asking Yonatan, where's Shaul? Where's David HaMelech? He said he had a family event and he couldn't make it. So what Shaul HaMelech said, he had mikra bilti tahor. The wording there as he said about David HaMelech, Mistama, he's not eating because we're eating a korban, and you have to have a level of kedusha. So he said, Mistama, mikre bilti taor. Okay, it happened, didn't happen. But when it happened the second month, the second Rosh Chodesh, he started to get suspicious, and that's when he saw that he's doing it purposely, and that's when Shaul HaMelech put on his pursuit to go and kill Chas Shalom David HaMelech. So the wording is from there, mikre bilti taor. Okay, so Chas Shalom.
So that was done in Tafskis, right?
His Danik too. That's a good question.
Or it was like making fun.
It was both, possibly both. Yeah. Okay. So these are the actual chapters. Michtam LeDavid Tetzayin. We went into this a little already. Next one is LeDavid Maskil 32. Third Ashrei Maskil Eldal. Each one is already representing the type of song. So, for example, you see where it says Michtam LeDavid. This chapter has in it the verse for bracha. The verse that Rabbi Nachman brought in the previous paragraph, bracha is Avarechet Hashem Asher Yatzani. That's from this chapter of the Tikkun HaKlali, chapter Tetzayin, 16. Okay? So it goes to say, Michtam LeDavid is the chapter representing the song called bracha. Second one, LeDavid Maskil, where you have Ashrei Nesui Pesha, that's 32. Third one is, it seems to be Maskil, 41, Ashrei Maskil Edal. Rabbi Nachman doesn't bring a pasuk from Tehillim, he brings a pasuk from Mishlei. Right? So if you look in the previous paragraph, for Maskil, he brings a pasuk from Mishlei. Bait v'hon nachalat avot umehashem isha maskale. That's Maskil. So here it seems to be number 3 in the order. Ashrei Maskil Adal. 42. In chapter 42, Ki'ayat Ta'arog, you have this pasuk we just spoke about. Yomam Yetzaveh Hashem Chazdo Uvalayla Shiro Imi is in this chapter. Ki'ayat Ta'arog. Okay? So chapter 42 seems to be the chapter that corresponds to the song called Shir. This is what we're going to go into now. Shir, the Zohar says, corresponds to the sphere of Chokhmah. The Zohar, Tikkun Zohar, elaborates, and plus in other places, Pinchas and more, they show a correlation between the 10 sfirot and the 10 types of song also. First of all, it's the Maharsha and the Gemara in Kufyud Zayin Psachim. The Maharsha is the one who opens us up to at least know, maybe it's probably brought down elsewhere, that's where he knows it from, that the 10 types of nigun that King David made the book of Tehillim with correspond to the 10 dibrot, the 10 Aserta dibrot at Har Sinai, and the Aserta dibrot correspond to the Asara Mamarot Shebahem Nivra Olam, that the world is created with 10 Vayomer Elokim Hior, right? And also Mamar Satum, the hidden one, which seems to be Ashrei, Keter. So there's 10, and he says all these also correspond to the 10 Sfirot. Okay, the Zohar is the one, the address where Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai shows us which Sfira corresponds to which type of song. Okay, so in the Zohar itself there's a machloket when it comes to nigun and mizmor. The Zohar switches them. In one place it says nigun is gvura, in another place it says it's chesed, another place mizmor is gvura, mizmor is chesed. We'll go with the kivun that it's going to. We're not there yet anyways. Nigun will go to not next week's class, or next week or in 2 weeks. 2 weeks class, okay? But Shir, the Zohar says, is Chokhmah. How? When the world is Shir connected to Chokhmah. So for this we need to see what the Zohar says and lays out. And with this you can understand the key to connect to Shir and what's the idea of Chokhmah here. The Zohar says like this. Ka'ayal ta'arog alafike mayim. The Zohar says a good observation. You can learn a lot of laws of grammar from the Zohar, by the way, because most of the questions the Zohar asks are questions in dikaduk, in grammar. Okay, so he says like this: Ayal is a male deer. Is ayelet, which is a doe, and ayal, the real translation is a hind. Ayal is a hind, and ayelet is a doe, a female one. So if you're talking about a male deer, a hind, so the verse should read Ke'ayal Ya'arog, with a yud, Ya'arog. What is ta'arog? That's feminine. So say, or Ke'ayal Ya'arog, or Ke'ayelet ta'arog. Why you, the pasuk, are you taking two different, masculine and feminine, and putting them together? What's going on here? So the Zohar says like this, that really Ayal, Ayelet is feminine. When the Zohar is talking about this Ayal, Ayelet, it's feminine. First of all, what is this Ayal, Ayelet the Zohar is talking about? This refers to the Sphira, what's called the energy level of Malchut. Malchut is called an Ayelet, Ayal, because the word for Ayel, Ayelet connotes strength, like Eilei Moav, Yochazeh Moav. We say in Azashir Moshe every morning, Eilei Moav, the strong warriors of Moav. Ayal, Ayelet connotes strength. What in the world does Malchut have to do with strength? So this is what the Zohar goes into right now. Malchut in the Kabbalah is an energy level of receiving and then giving. Malchut is like a mother, for example, that she receives energy from above her, and then she distributes it to her children, who's dependent upon her. So too, Malchut is the last level of the Sfirot, above this world, and all the nourishment coming to this world, to the Goyim, to the Yidden, to everybody in this world, all the nourishment is through Malchut. So Malchut has a big responsibility of being the final address of all the bounty that Hashem sends from above coming down. It gets down to Malchut, and then it's distributed to the world, to the Tachtonim. So she's like a mother, okay? But if now there's dinim in the world, there's judgments, and for that reason they block bringing down Shefa down to the world, and the Malchut goes crazy. I have a responsibility to bring nourishment to my children, to the world. If you're not going to give it to me, I have no other alternative but by force to go up and to get it. That's why Malchut, the Zohar says, is called an Ayal, because he strengthens this sphera, this attitude, this energy level, as if strengthens itself with such a force to go upwards to get it. With that said, let's look at the verse. Ke'ayal ta'arog, it's good to have a Tikkun HaKlali in front of you so you can see it better. Ke'ayal ta'arog al afike mayim. Ken nafshi ta'arog elech Eloki. King David is saying, or Latzet Maskil B'nei B'nei Korach, the sons of Korach, they're saying like this. Just like an ayal, the female hind, or whatever, is yearning al afike mayim. What's afike mayim? The Mefarshim, the Malbim and everyone, they say the word afik is like afikoman, apiku, where the water comes out from. There's water sources. Okay? Pshat is, the Gemara says, that when there's a drought, all the animals in the forest, they come to the deer and the dove, the doe, the hind and the deer, the female doe, complaining there's no water. You dive into Hashem for water. This, let me just brings this down. Okay, this analogy. There's no water, so dive in that there should be water. So what does the dove or the doe or the hind do? He puts his horns in the earth and he lets out. Orga is the word, arog is the term of the cry for a deer, like a dove, like a deer, like a lion has. There's a gara. There's in Hebrew. There's different languages for the noise of each animal. Right? We say by each animal a tzipor is mitzaftzef. Okay, a bear has another type, and a lion has another type. The type of expression of crying of a dove, of a hind, of the deer is called ta'arog, and it's funny because it's similar to the word for orga, yearning, because that's what she's doing. She's crying out of yearning for water. So the Tehillim is saying like this: just like again, if it's the hind or the doe is yearning, crying for water, for the water to come out because there's no water, and the Midrash continues that, and Hashem answers her that by digging they find the water source and water starts coming from underneath. He starts digging with the horns into the earth, until they get to some water, and Hashem has compassion and lets the water come. That's afike mayim, water source, apiku. Where's the water coming from? There's no water coming from the rain. So we have no choice but to look for an underground source of water. So it's sticking the horns in and crying until Hashem has compassion and lets water come from underground sources to come up, and there's water to give the animals, including the deer and all the other animals. That's why they come to the deer, who's an expert in knowing how to delve into Hashem, to cry out, to get water to come out. So he's saying, one second, we'll get to that. Just the pshat of the pasuk. Ki ayal tarog al afike mayim ken nafshi tarog. So to my nefesh should be tarog elecha Elokim. Pshat is very difficult. Elokim is normally the name of Hashem for dinim. What? Ken nafshi tarog elecha Elokim? Come on. That so too, my nefesh is yearning for you, the God of judgment. No, I don't want Hashem to judge you. I'm yearning for your judgments. No. Ken nafshi tarog elecha, to you, when I'm under influence of Elokim, when there's judgments and nothing's coming down. So that's what was pushing me. Just like Elokim, just like there's no water coming to the deep, to the again, I'm getting mixed up, the dome, the hind. So too, there's no water, there's no sustenance coming down to me. So I'm, because of Elokim, so I'm crying over that. That's the pshat, okay? That's the pshat of the pasuk. So now, the Zohar, going back, he's called an ayal, she's called an ayelet, and it's really feminine. Why? What's going on? Why is she called masculine? When Malchut, who's called an ayelet, like ayelet hashachar, also, and Esther Malka was called ayelet hashachar, ayelet ahavim. The term ayal refers to Am Yisrael in a few places in the Torah. There's psukim in Tehillim that prove it. Also, Esther Malka, she's also called an ayelet, ayal. Okay. So what's this term? It's that when there's no shefa coming down, she goes up. She goes running to get the shefa, like a zachar. The way of a female doe is not to be the one to go to find the food for the babies. The man does that. The man, the male, the hind, he's the one who goes to collect food and everything to feed the young, whatever, to have nourishment. He's the one, he's the balboska. He's the one who's doing the things. When she's not receiving shefa, she becomes like an ayal. So that's the Zohar's answer. Why did it say ayal tarog? It's really an ayalit, but because she has no alternative, because there's no shefa coming down, because she's crying over afike mayim. Afike mayim is two. Afike. Afik would be singular one. What's two? So in the Kabbalah, there's two sources of shefa that come down. One is from Bina. The higher one is called Bina. Okay? Bina is the top. Bina is the beginning of all the bounty coming down. Under that is what's called the Zer Anpin. The Zer Anpin is like the masculine giver. Under Malchut, you see, I'll just show you a little map here. You have in the Sfirot what are called
Malchut is
number two. She's the wife. Watch the map here. You'll see it. You'll understand it much better. Okay. This normally is the setup of the Sfirot. Okay. These are Sfirot. 10 Sfirot. They parallel the body of a man. Okay. Here, this is the head. Chochmah bin Adat. These two is like the brain. The right side, left side, and the cerebellum in the middle. That's the middle. This is the right arm. Chesed Gvura. Chesed Gvura. The right arm, left arm. And Tiferet is the torso, the middle. The legs, netzach hod, are the legs. So does the brit. Malchut, they're saying, is the tip of the brit, or also the feet, the legs, the bottom of the feet. Okay, even though it's one, it's representing two, but it's in the middle. Okay, it's receiving from all these basically. This is Sfirot. There's also what's called Partsufim. Partsufim takes the 10 Sfirot and gives them a persona. That's the word in English. Okay, a persona means like representation. So, for example, Chochmah and Bina is like father and mother. Just like a father has the role of a father, and a mother has the role of a mother, Chochmah and Bina parallel that in their role in the Sfirot. Tiferet is all 6. Chesed, Gvur, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. He's called Zer Anpin. It's like the child. He's the child of Abanim. He's the son, and it's like the daughter-in-law. Okay? Son, and he gives to his wife. Okay, so this is the father and mother, son, and daughter-in-law, if you want to call it Nukva. Malchut is like the wife. Okay, he's Zer Anpin. He's one afike mayim. The Zohar says he gives. The wife of. He's the husband. He gives to Malchut. She also can receive from her mother-in-law. She's a good mother-in-law, Ima. She gives also. Bina gives directly to her gifts, jewelry, and this, whatever. I'm going to give the analogy, okay? That Ima gives to the Malchut also, and also Zer Anpin. Zer Anpin gives much more though. Because it's his wife. It's Zer Anpin and Nukve. It's his wife here, okay? These are Partsufim. Persona is Partsufim. So you can understand the role of the Sfirot. Tiferet has a lot because in Zer Anpin, he has times that he has to have Chesed, times Gvura, Sometimes you have Netzach, Hod, Yesod. There's attitudes in how he brings Parnasa and Shefa into the house on a physical, spiritual, mental, emotional level, all levels. They change. There's always variations in everything in all these 6, okay? So, Afike Mayim is 2. It's Zeranpin and Ima, which is Bina, and Zeranpin, which is all these Tiferet here. When she's not getting it, when there's a blockage,
Where's Kasa above all?
Keter is way above here. Here we go. Keter
Keter
was here. Atik, Yomin, Arich, Anpin. This is like grandfather. Okay, Saba the Sami. Great grandfather, if you want to say. Way above. Atik, your ancient of days. Okay, it's like Saba. It's called Saba. Saba Kadisha, Saba, and the Kabbalah they call it the Saba. Like the grandfather. He's like the grandfather. Just picture grandfather, Bubi, Azadi, and the father, mother, the son, and the daughter-in-law. Okay, that's amazing how this throughout, and there's a personification. They give us this so you can understand like the role that they serve. It's called anthropomorphism, so we can understand a little bit of how they work. So they give us this analogy to compare to something that we have in daily life in this world. Okay. So afike mayim, ki ayal tarog al afike mayim. There's 2 sources. Okay, she's not getting it. She's yearning. Why there's a blockage? Because the actions of the tachtonim of her children dictate that heaven doesn't want to give shefa, because if they allow shefa to go down while people are still conducting themselves wrong, they'll take it and detour it to the wrong direction and to cause more damage, more destruction. So for heaven, they have like what's called a pilot light, like a pilot, if you have too much electricity, so then everything goes off. What's it called in English? It's a
breaker switch?
Exactly. There's a breaker switch from heaven that they see that if now too much shefa and bounty is coming down, and there's a danger to go to the evil side and cause more destruction, so they have a breaker switch, they turn off everything now. So you have to call the technician to come to fix everything. They're also new, but they have everything fixed. But who fixes it? No one's fixing it, and she's saying, my children need food. The good people also are suffering now, with the bad people together. Like, we can't do that. You can't just block, like the breaker switch turns off everything. Turns off the cholent plata, turns off the fridge, turns off everything that you don't need, even what you need. It's not fair. Why are you turning off what I need also?
So it's Deacon first.
What?
Deacon first.
They get hurt first.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Okay, so what does she do? She becomes like an ayal, the Zohar says, and she goes without permission to bring down the bounty and shefa. So at midnight, this happens every night. Every night this happens at midnight. The night is when they close off the doors every night, because the night is when she rules. Lamed Yud Tav she rules. If now they allow shefa to continue coming down while she's ruling, that time of the day, she'll take it for her. So in heaven, they close off. And they tell everyone go home, go to sleep. That's why it's the best time to sleep, ideally, is the first part of the night. Not to switch it. The Ben Ish Chai goes into this a lot. Why it's healthiest for a person, physically, spiritually, mentally. Not to what people do today. They stay up until midnight and they go to sleep. But yes, to go to sleep in the first half of the night, because that's when the shops are closed. Everything's closed in heaven. Closing. There's no shefa coming down. Okay, there are exceptions. But in the main, the doors are closed. There's no shefa. So now Malchut needs, people still need to breathe, people need to eat, they need sustenance. Just because now the shop is closed, go home, but people are starving, people need help and nourishment still, physically, spiritually, mentally. So this takes place for the first 6 hours of the night, where this blockage. At midnight, she can't handle it anymore, Malchut, because we need Shefa. So every night at midnight, the Malchut becomes like this ayal. The ayelet becomes an ayal. That's why she's called an ayelet in the first place, because it's an ayal. And B'koach, she goes up. The Zohar depicts us, she goes to what's called dark mountains. Why are they dark? Because she didn't get permission to go. So she's going through these dark mountains of Zeranpin to get to Chesed, because she has to go through all these mountains. She's coming from the below. She has to get to Chesed, because that's where the bounty is. By Zeranpin, it starts at Chesed. So it's blocked here, and the first Sphira of Zeranpin, it's blocked there. So she has to go all the way up to Chesed.
Bina is left open?
What?
Bina
is still closed also. They're both closed. Wait a second. They're both closed. Bina closed and Zeranpin closed. It's two break switches. They close both, okay? So she first goes to what's closest to her. Zeranpin is her husband, right? But he's closing off the Shefa. So the deer, the ayelet, becomes like an ayal, a masculine attitude, and goes up all the way to try to get chesed without permission from this mountain called Chesed in Zeir Anpin. Following this ayal is a snake, which the Zohar says represents Edom. The snake is following the footsteps of this deer, this hind. Why? Because this whole nourishment of the snake of Edom comes from the deer. The deer, the Malchut, will receive all the bounty and then give it out, including to the wicked, including to Esav and Edom the Goyim. So the snake is waiting for his nourishment, it's not coming. So he's following, the Zohar says he's following the footsteps of this hind who's running to go towards the Chesed, dark mountains. The snake is following to get to in order that once this deer gets the Shefa, the snake will take what belongs to him. Okay? So one snake following the deer finally gets to the Chesed. Waiting there is a second snake. Which is the second snake? Ishmael. Ishmael is found on the right side. Ishmael, as opposed to Esav. You have Esav and Ishmael. Esav is the klipa on the left side. That's why he's tough and he's evil and wrong. Ishmael is half-half. They believe in Allah, they believe in God, and they claim to be our brothers. But it's also a rishut. It's a different type of rishut from the side of Chesed. So he can't have access to the Chesed. Only the deer can get in forcefully and bring out bounty from the Chesed.
Who's the deer?
The deer is the Malchut, the attitude of Malchut.
The
Shechina, if you want to say.
Here.
How does it relate to an islandist?
What?
How does it relate to an islandist who is
Ailonit, I don't
it's
know.
really because it's called Japanese because it's Lashon Dachar, because Dachar is the type of
Ailonit.
idol. It's a woman who...
That's a good question. Here it said in the bottom, alternative names for Zeir Anpin and Malchut. Okay? Malchut, Leah, Rachel, prayer, Orla, Shechina. The Shechina is the divine presence. Okay? The Shechina, to give down the nourishment, is like Malchut. Okay? The moon. These are alternative names of Malchut in the Kabbalah. So, what happens is, the second snake of Ishmael can't have access to Chesed. He's there, his location. He's located on the mountain, but he has no access to it.
He comes before the aisle?
He's there waiting.
Why?
He's there waiting.
And Adam comes later.
The aisle comes, and what happens is, this snake of Ishmael and the snake of Edom, Esav, they both want the same shefa. They're waiting for the dove, the doe, to go into Chesed, to get shefa, and then these two snakes want to take it for themselves.
Why does she move here before she comes and Adam follows her?
Because
Ishmael is already on the side of Chesed. He's already located on the side of Chesed. Ishmael is always associated with the right side. It's the klipa of the right. Doing too much good is also bad. So the attitude of Ishmael characteristic is they believe in God, they believe in prayer and everything, but they're very extreme in their attitude. You take, for example, a holy war attitude. Why holy war? God does everything, so I can do whatever I want, basically, because God is running the world. That's an attitude of Ishmael. Esav is a kofer. There's no God, there's nothing. It's all kochi ve'otzim yadi. There's no God. That's Esav. Ishmael does believe, but it's a distorted belief. You can't talk to them. It's like you try to talk a rational argument or a rational dialogue with a Ishmael mentality, you won't get anywhere because they're brainwashed into their mentality, and it's a distortion of a religion. They believe, but it's a distortion. There's no way to talk I can kill, and it's okay to kill people because it's a religious holy war. You can kill Jews and everything, and I'm doing the biggest mitzvah in their opinion of killing Jews. You hear that? It's crazy, right?
How do you compare that to Esav? It's Amalek though.
Amalek, right? That we have a mitzvah to kill Amalek. Okay, that's a question on the side. Is that the shit? Good question. You guys are asking good questions. I don't have answers yet. One day. Okay, so what happens is the hind comes to the Chesed, the mountain. So the snake of Esav sees the snake of Ishmael, and they both want the same shefa. They don't want, okay, we'll split. I want the shefa from me only. I want the shefa from me only. So the Zohar says these two snakes start fighting each other. While they're fighting, the hind has no interference to go to get the chesed, the shefa from chesed. She gets it and brings it down to the world. So that's why at midnight, those who are up at midnight and are close to Shechina, they're crying over the Shechina, that's Tikkun Chatzot, they're the first ones to receive this shefa. First ones, and after them it's distributed based on level. First those who get up at Chatzot, number one, and then it goes down, and then what's left over goes to the goyim and the rest of the world, etc. Okay, that's every night.
Chutz l'chassid.
Now Chutz Chesed is during the day. Where
Because they were the first to get it.
you're connecting Chesed already. It's good. I hear what you're saying. You're connecting the Chesed. That's the explanation of the Taich of Chutz Chesed. Yomam Yitzhak Hashem Chazdom, thanks to what happens at midnight. Okay, we still didn't answer what happens to Bina. Bina is still closed. Okay, so the Zohar says after this happens at midnight, every midnight, there's a second time the deer goes up forcefully to get Shefa. This is right before Alot HaShachar. It's called in the Zohar Kajaluta de Tzafra. There's the darkness preceding the morning. The Zohar says that time before Alot HaShachar is very dark. If you notice on a physical level, it gets super cold at the end of the night, right before the morning. It's really chilly. It's like the chilliest. It wasn't so cold at midnight, but right before morning, it's freezing cold. Like there's an attitude of darkness and choshech. It's a doubled choshech. And here there's nothing to do with Esav and Ishmael now. This is the darkness of Yehush. The darkness of Yehush, of like, that's it, I'm abandoned, there's no hope, there's nothing. That attitude is represented in what the Zohar is saying of the second darkness right before Lot HaShachar. And for that deeper situation, the scenario where more help is needed, the help, the Shefa that came down at midnight is good maybe for like physical sustenance, physical nourishment, or a basic chesed. But now for those who are really stuck in the darkness before Alot HaShachar, which means that before the biggest light in life, there's always a big darkness. When you're about to have a major breakthrough, so Hashem sends you a major test and a major darkness. The idiot will say, okay, it's over. The smart guy will say, this darkness is so bad because something amazing is about to happen in my life. That's why I'm going to the darkness. You read the Tzorach Aliyah, that it's like a trampoline. If I'm going to go super high, I have to first go on the trampoline very, very deep first in order to go that high. So this is happening to me, that there's a big darkness. Something big is about to happen. It's how you look at the situation, right? We're okay with time, by the way? We're okay with time, right?
Yeah.
All right, fine. So she goes up a second time, right before morning, right before dawn. She goes up a second time, and this time she tries to get the Chokhmah. She tries to get the Bina. Bina, there's no way to get in. Bina's closed totally. Okay? Okay, so Bina's closed. So what does she do? She bypasses Bina. She goes to what's even above Bina. It's called Chokhmah. Chokhmah is the father. In father and mother attitude, Abba and Ima, we just said it in the Kabbalah, there's Abba and Ima, Chokhmah and Bina. The father doesn't play so much a role. It's the mother who's always after nourishing their son. Who cares more about the son normally? It's the mother. The mother is always the one, take care of yourself. And we see the connection between a mother and a son normally more than a father and a son. The one who's after to. So in this scenario, you don't see the presence of the father so much in the life of the son. You see more the presence of the mother in the life of a son. Even on a physical level, a man says, my mother used to do this, my mom used to do this, my mother. It's the mother who's the main normally role in a child's growth and education, normal situations, okay? So here also, Chokhmah, Abba, is not so apparent. He's not noticeable. In the Kabbalah also, Chokhmah, you don't see anything. It's like a dot. It's a dot. It's signified by the letter Yud. You don't see anything. A dot. So here, the Ayal is so desperate to get help. Bina closes the door. My mother, okay, no problem. I bypass you. Go even to where there's no Shefa, and I'm going to make a hole. There's like one access to my father, like a little dot, a little hole. I have to get to that. So the deer, right before Lot HaShachar, desperate for salvation, for a Shefa, because it's so dark and so bad, goes up all the way to Chokhmah. Okay? So the Shir, the reason why it's called Shir, the Zohar, and why it corresponds to Chokhmah, because Shir is made up of the letters Shar, Yud, singing of Yud, which is Chokhmah. The singing of Chokhmah. And this is how in the morning, Alot HaShachar, is the light of the day starts. The whole avodah of a Jew starts from Alot HaShachar. That's why in Shulchan Aruch it says, Yitgaber Ka'ari. Okay? You didn't hear this before, we're going to this right now. There are two attitudes. There's the attitude of a lion and the attitude of a shore. Shore is what's needed to get up at midnight, because midnight is really tough to get up. So you need the strength of a cow, like a ram, okay? But to get up in the morning is also difficult. You need more strength, agility, right? I need to get up for Alot HaShachar. less of a push because I know I have to get up. I have to daven. I can't now push off my tefillin. I can't say I'm not going to daven today. If I do that, it's outward or reshoot. But I have to daven. I start pushing it out, but eventually I have to get up. So the ari, the strength of a lion, is what's needed to get up on the proper time. The halacha says like this: "Itgaber ka'ari lakum la'avodat tetzot sheyehu me'orer et hashachar." You should be strong like a lion, in order that you should be the one to wake up in the morning. You should be up before the morning. Sheyehem hu me'orer et hashachar. That says in Shulchan Aruch. Okay, so that means that I have a strength of a lion, which means there's already strength there. I have to, there's already a matzav. I have to get up. It's like an option. Midnight, I don't have to get up, but I know that it's the right thing to do. I know that if I get up, I'll have a lot of benefits. I'll hit a jackpot. I'll hit the biggest lottery spiritually. This will be big, but no one's forcing me. So that you need more strength to get up at midnight, in a sense, than like a lion. Lion is, in a way, it's a sense more easier because you know you have to do it. You have to eventually get up. I have to put my tefillin and everything. That's why the Shulchan Aruch requires itgaber ka'ari, to get up before alot hashachar. And why is that expressed? Because it's hard to get up before alot hashachar. It's not easy. In other words, it doesn't say itgaber ka'ari to get up in the morning, to daven any time. It says dafka before alot hashachar. You need the strength of an ari to get up. Okay, that's what it's saying. Itgaber ka'ari for the getting up before alot hashachar, because that's when this dark period is. It's a second dark period, and it's deeper. But thanks to the first shefa that came down from Zeranpin, this deer has already more strength to go up higher, all the way up to Chokhmah, to get out shefa. So now, going back to what we're saying, how did this all start? Because of Ke'aya Ta'arok. What pushes this doe, this hind, this deer to go up? It's because there's no shefa, so she doesn't sit around and do nothing and start worrying and fretting. Ta'arok, she starts yearning. Okay? It's the yearning that pushes to create the shir, the chokhmah, the song of chokhmah, which is basically the shef. We call it shir. The shefa coming down is eventually called a song, a shir, because once you tap into chokhmah, you open it up, and you have the bounty coming down. The song that's associated with this is shir. Because like we said earlier, it's total darkness and you're building a matzav, that's shir. So that this shir, who started it? It was the yearning. The yearning. In our context, what gets a person to connect to shir, to create shir? You're yearning for it. It's total darkness.
I think it was Kessler, the Asher.
Right. Went into that. Right, that's the kidney. There's something else. This is the bracha, not keter, bracha. Avarchat Hashem Asher Yatzani. The kikalayot.
Kessler is the yearning is the hope that's far away.
That's a sight, we said. No, a sight. That's something else. It's histaklut, ashur. It was seeing, not the yearning. It's that you keep your eyes like the blinkers of the horse. You have your eyes on. Everyone's telling you there's no hope. There's no hope. You're looking that there's hope, and you're being attacked. And you're like strong. I keep my eyes focused that there is hope. That's keter. That's something else. Here it's orga. I have no water. I have no sustenance. So what does she do? She cries. She yearns. I need the sustenance. It's like I'm as opposed to Avram Avinu, which we saw the kilayot. This we went into. It's the first proof is Avarechat Hashem Asher Yatzani Af Leilot Yiseruni Chilyotai. Right, Chilyotai is my kidneys. He said. The verse read, I will bless Hashem. This is about Avram Avinu. The Gemara says this verse in Avram Avinu. They don't want to teach him Torah. So how did he learn Torah? His two kidneys became like fountains of water, and they taught him Torah. You hear that? You say, Rabbona Shalom, how does that work? How do kidneys teach him Torah? So the chida goes into this. And he said, look at the word, the Hebrew word for a kidney. Kilaya is from Lashon, nichsefa vegam, kalta nafshi, kalot. Kalta nafshi lishuadecha. Avram Avinu's yearning was manifested in his kidneys. His yearning to do the Ratzon of Hashem. Hashem, I want to serve you. I have no idea what to do. Who taught him about Eruv Tavshilin? Who taught about Shabbos, Pesach? It wasn't Shem and Ever. The Mefarshim say Shem and Ever only knew maximum Shabbat Mitzvot Ben Noach. That's all they can give over to Avram Avinu at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's all he knew. Yeah, even though it says Noach offered korbanot, but that's about it. The Torah they learned was the development of Shivat Mitzvot Bnei Noach, period.
But
He was
depth,
alone. What?
In depth?
1 second. Afterwards it changed. Afterwards Yaakov Avinu went to Beit Midrash of Shem and Ever, because it's already after there was Avram Avinu in the world who taught Torah. Shem and Ever became masters of the Torah revealed by Avram Avinu.
Wow.
Unbelievable. Huh? Until a certain point, all they could give over was Shivat Mitzvot Bnei Noach. So Avram Avinu had no one to learn
But
from.
you do it in depth?
What?
You did it in depth?
If Avram Avinu knew also Rav Tavshilin, and he got the Rav Tavshilin,
No,
So if Shine knew before,
obviously, but
Obviously.
that's it. Just 7. How about Daryag? And then the Rabbanan, Rav Tavshilin, Rav Chatzerot. Avram Avinu got to everything by his yearning. His yearning and the filtering of the kidneys, because that's their filtering. The Chida says, the filtering, due to the yearning, connected his kidneys to the Sechel, to the Neshama, which is the Dat, the Bina, and he understood, had direct understanding through the kidneys of the yearning to understand what to be done, what was not to be done. That yes, Pesach, Matzot, yes, Tefillin, yes, Shabbat, no Tefillin on Shabbat, all these laws, unbelievable, just yearning. That's yearning when you're not obligated, because Avraham Avinu wanted to serve Hashem. Here, Orga comes out when a person needs the item. They're going to die if they don't have it. Chas v'shalom. There's no food for the children. So Orga, as opposed to Kalta, Kelayot, which we saw in Bracha, okay? Orga, Ta'arog, is that you need this item. So how do you connect to it? How do you begin the development to get to it? It's through yearning, okay? So here, Rabbeinu is showing us, Shir is reflected in this chapter, Ke'ayot Ta'arog, Alafike Maim. The key word that begins it is the Orga, and that there's a lack of Shefa coming down. This creates the matzav to create Shir. Shir is when there's total darkness, and the darkness is swallowing me up. It's not just that. I'm in the darkness and it's going to kill me, chas v'shalom, I don't do anything. I can't just, okay, whatever Hashem wants, and then accept to be drowned and killed. No. I'm going to do something about the matzav, or the darkness is going to consume me, God forbid. So that's what it starts with Orga. This activates eventually to Chokhmah, to get to that second light of Bina there, okay? And once that Bina is tapped into, this brings down the Shefa from Chokhmah, which is the beginning point, and that's the expression of Shir.
The yearning activates the Chachma, basically.
What?
The yearning activates the Chachma?
The yearning activates the Ayel Ayelet
to
make
go
that
up
push,
all the way
to go up twice, Afike Mayim, to go first to Chesed, and then to go even further to Chokhmah, to bypass Bina. Alright? That's a lot. It was a lot. It was pretty heavy.
Yeah.
We continue with the Hashem next week. So this is the 6th